Before the break, we showed you how the vast majority of Republicans to this point refusing to speak up and speak out about how the president is denigrating democracy and frankly being dangerous. There are a few exceptions. I noted a few of them, but the silence, it is deafening. My next guest, he served with many of those people. He also was a Senate colleague of Joe Biden. Let's bring in our guest, former Senator Byron Dorgan from North Dakota, part of the Democratic leadership in the Senate at the time. And first of all, speak to that point about where McConnell is right now. And let's be fair, the election hasn't been called, et cetera, but there is an opportunity to say, no, we count votes in this country. We have free and fair elections. This is not, massive cheating or the American public's not being robbed. There's not illegal votes that are being counted. Are you surprised or not about the radio silence coming from Republican leadership?
I'm not surprised. The fact is they don't want to take him on. They've never wanted to take him on. And, we know for a number of months now, the president has said, look, the only way I'm going to lose is if there's fraud, if it's stolen from me. Well, you would have expected at that point to be some pushback by Republican leadership, but it didn't happen. So I'm not surprised that they're being very quiet. It's wrong. It undermines the interests of this country, in my judgment, but they are where they are.
I'm going to bring in callers soon, Senator. I think it's more than wrong. I think it's dangerous. We've already seen the FBI intercept somebody that was going down to Philadelphia armed where they're counting ballots. If the rhetoric, and I see no reason why I should believe the president's going to come off the ledge, he'll keep ramping things up the more desperate he gets. Somebody could get hurt here. Forgetting about the scars he's leaving on the institutions and the legitimacy of an election. I played clips about what George W. Bush did, what John McCain did. There was grace. They didn't just say I lost, and I'm mad about it. They acknowledged the victory on the other side, and they did so, as I said, with grace. I'm not expecting that now, but we are so past norms here.
Well, I knew John and knew President Bush. The fact is, you would have expected them to do that. That's the kind of people they were. But listen, I'm as concerned as you are about this. This is a deeply troubled and divided nation. The Constitution starts with we the people in order to form a more perfect union. Well, we're not a perfect union. We've got really serious issues. And it starts with this unbelievable anger out there. And Joe Biden is someone who, at least I hope, once we can get this election over with and have it called, Joe Biden is someone, when he gets to the White House, I'm convinced he's going to call Republicans and Democrats down to the White House. He's going to put his arms around them, have them at the cabinet table, and he's going to say to them and talk to them about, he's a Senate person. He's going to say to them, listen, let's find ways for us to work together. Let's try to find ways to do things to address some really big issues in our country. Climate change, COVID, retirement security, a whole series of things. I'm convinced Joe will reach out to try to do that, but it's in a very difficult circumstance. And then the question is, what does Donald Trump do between November 6th and January 20th? I'm very worried about that as well. But
I expect there to be a conga line of pardons and executive orders and et cetera. And is there any line that you think that McConnell says, whoa, we're getting into crazy town here? At the end, this guy's going to leave whether he likes it or not, escorted or on his own volition in January, but we've still got a country to run and we're in the middle of a pandemic and we've been waiting on a stimulus for months. At what point do you think McConnell says, time out, this is the bridge too far?
Well, I don't know. And my great concern is that when you see people like Gingrich and Bannon and others talking about this unbelievable fraud they see, which doesn't exist, of course, I'm worried about people feeling very intensely about the Trump candidacy going to the streets and worried about where that goes. Because, I just think there's reason to be very, very concerned about this. And the president is continuing to throw gas on the fire here. What he has done and what he is doing is unprecedented in American history, in my judgment.
Senator, you mentioned that Biden, obviously a creature of the Senate, a former colleague of yours, and even in the Obama administration, he was the one who go down to the Hill and carry the message or try and carry the water. When he reaches out, is he going to get somebody shaking his hand? Are we so polarized right now, not just in the hinterlands, but back in Washington, that, you know, it's viewed as shirts and skins and there's no common ground? Or do we go back to some modicum of the way it was when the Trump fever burns out?
I don't know the answer to that. I mean, social media has intervened here in the last decade that has dramatically changed the way the Senate thinks and behaves. And so, you know, at this point, leadership is under the arm of Senator McConnell. He runs it with an iron hand, and we'll see. But I do think that Joe Biden will do what others have not done, and that is he's a creature of the Senate. He spent most of his career there. He worked with Republicans and Democrats, worked across the political aisle. He's going to want to invite everybody down to the White House and to say to them, look, we're all political leaders here. Let's find ways for us to work together on things that matter most.
You know, I know we're singing the same song here, but there's one thing, I guess, if they've had a video of some guy burning some ballots, even though it wouldn't change in the big scheme of things, you know, all the states, all the ballots, et cetera. But there's nothing. And Bannon's talking about putting Fauci and you know, Ray's head on spikes at the White House. To your point, with nothing out there, this is getting fomented. Without anything. I mean, my God, that to me was the most frightening indictment, Senator, that with totally fictitious, out of whole cloth, made up stories, we're actually having these conversations. And we're probably going to have a 6 million vote vig here, the difference in the popular vote between the president and Trump when all the counting is done. It's just, it is infuriating.
It is. And look, we're all Americans. We've got to find a way to come together, to respect each other, even if we disagree, and then begin working hard together on the very big issues that confront our country. You know, people woke up this morning, millions of them without jobs. Lots of them woke up with their business underwater, you know, and 122,000 cases of COVID infections yesterday. I mean, it's unbelievable the challenges we face. So I hope Republicans and Democrats, I hope the American people themselves who support these candidates will decide we're one country and we do need a more perfect union. And we're the only ones that can get it, and we get it through the power of that vote. And now if we send Joe Biden to the White House, which we will do, I hope he will reach out in a very new and aggressive way to Republicans and Democrats and say to the American people, we're one. Let's work together and make things better.
Final question, and do it in the prism, if you could, of your old state of North Dakota. Mm-hmm. Did the election prove that we are much farther apart than maybe any of us wanted to admit before? Or is it that there's differences, but there was a cult of personality with Trump, but that people down deep don't believe the things he really says other than on the margins? How far apart are we, even if Biden tried, and I think in a perverse way, you know, without a progressive mandate because he doesn't have the Senate right now, he might be able to tack more to the middle, which I think is his more comfortable lane. Are we farther apart from the North Dakotans that you spoke to than maybe I ever imagined? Or is there a place where Biden can go that many will follow?
Well, I think Joe is a creature of the center. I mean, I watched him in the Senate for many, many, many years. And, you know, he reaches out to all kinds of people saying, it doesn't matter if you're Republican or Democrat, work with me on this. Let's find a way to solve this. That's what I think he's going to do. But let me say to you again, I think social media has intervened in a way that allows people to be anonymous and use language that is unbelievable and to do things that don't respect other people's opinions these days. So we need to think through all of that as well. But for me, I just hope that we can get through this week and next week, get through to January 20th, and have a new voice at the White House that we can respect and believes in decency and dignity.
I can echo that. Senator, as always, I do appreciate you making time for us. Thank you.
Thanks. Good to be with you.
You as well. When we come back, the Trump campaign, you know, has filed lawsuits in many states, and now the president wants to go right to the Supreme Court to get our highest court involved in one of the nation's top constitutional and election experts. He'll join me to discuss whether or not the suits have any merit.